Mars, The Next Giant Leap for Mankind. Written and published by Ciro Irmici. Feel free to subscribe for more content. Now let's get into the book. Introduction: Humanity's New Frontier. For millennia, humans have gazed up at the night sky, their imaginations captured by the glowing red dot that is Mars. From ancient mythology to modern science fiction, the red planet has long held a special place in our collective consciousness. Now, for the first time in history, we stand on the brink of turning that ancient curiosity into a reality. The next giant leap for mankind isn't just about walking on another planet, it's about expanding the very horizons of human possibility. Mars represents far more than just another destination in the solar system. It's the boldest expression of our drive to explore, to push the limits of what we know and what we can achieve. Reaching Mars would not only demonstrate the incredible advancements in science and technology that we've made in recent decades, but would also pave the way for an entirely new era of space exploration. Beyond that, the mission to Mars challenges us to think deeply about the future of humanity, about survival, adaptation, and the long-term sustainability of our species beyond Earth. But Mars is no easy frontier. The journey to the red planet is fraught with complex scientific, technological, and human challenges. The vast distance, over 200 million kilometers at its farthest, poses significant logistical hurdles, while Mars' harsh environment makes long-term survival difficult. But where there are challenges, there are also opportunities for innovation, collaboration, and new ways of thinking. This book explores what it will take to get humans to Mars and, perhaps more importantly, what it will mean for humanity when we get there. We'll delve into the science behind the mission, the groundbreaking technologies being developed, and the extraordinary people who will make it happen. We'll also consider the profound ethical questions that arise when we consider setting foot on a new world. Questions about who gets to go, what impact we might have on the planet, and how this new chapter in space exploration might shape the future of civilization. In many ways, the mission to Mars is not just about Mars. It's about our collective ambition as a species, our drive to explore, to innovate, and to build a future that extends beyond the boundaries of our home planet. It is a testament to the enduring human spirit of discovery, one that has carried us from the caves to the stars. As you turn the pages of this book, you'll be invited to imagine a future where humans live and work on Mars, where space is no longer the final frontier, but the next step in our journey. Welcome to the new frontier of humanity, Mars. Chapter 1. Why Mars? The science behind the choice. Mars. Of all the celestial bodies in our solar system, why has this red, desolate planet captured the imagination of scientists, explorers, and dreamers alike? Why not Venus, with its similar size and proximity to Earth, or one of the moons of Jupiter or Saturn, which may harbor oceans beneath their icy surfaces? The answer to why Mars is the next frontier for human exploration lies in a combination of factors. Its geological features, its relative accessibility, and the tantalizing possibility that it might have once harbored life, or might even do so now. Planet both familiar and alien. Mars is in many ways both strikingly similar to Earth and dramatically different. It's the planet most like ours in the solar system, with a day that lasts just over 24 hours and seasons that shift with the tilt of its axis, much like Earth's. Its surface is home to valleys, deserts, and polar ice caps. The largest volcano in the solar system, Olympus Mons, and the deepest canyon, Valles Marineris, are both found on Mars. These features make it an intriguing target for study and exploration, offering a landscape that, despite its alien nature, feels oddly familiar. But Mars is also a planet of extremes. Its atmosphere is a thin wisp of carbon dioxide, with less than 1% of the density of Earth's, making it impossible for humans to breathe without assistance. The average surface temperature is a bone-chilling -60 degrees Celsius, -80 degrees Fahrenheit, and powerful dust storms can envelop the planet for weeks at a time. Water, the essential ingredient for life as we know it, exists mostly in frozen form at the poles or locked beneath the surface. Yet, despite these challenges, Mars is uniquely positioned as a candidate for exploration. Unlike Venus, where crushing atmospheric pressure and scorching temperatures make human missions nearly impossible, Mars offers a surface we can actually land on and explore. Unlike the distant moons of the gas giants, Mars is close enough to Earth to be within our reach with current technology, yet far enough to represent a new frontier of discovery. The quest for life. One of the most compelling reasons to explore Mars is the possibility of finding life, or at least evidence that life once existed there. Over the last few decades, robotic missions like NASA's rovers have revealed that Mars was once a very different place. Billions of years ago, it had rivers, lakes, and perhaps even a vast ocean covering much of its northern hemisphere. Where there was water, there might have been life. Today, the search for life on Mars continues, with missions designed to probe the surface and subsurface for signs of microbial life. While the planet's surface is harsh and irradiated, underground environments might offer better protection for life forms. Some scientists speculate that microbial life could still survive in subsurface pockets of water, shielded from the planet's harsh surface conditions. Finding life on Mars, or even evidence that it once existed, would be one of the most profound discoveries in human history. It would fundamentally reshape our understanding of biology, evolution, and the uniqueness, or lack thereof, of life on Earth. It could even provide clues about how life on Earth began, offering insights into the conditions that allow life to flourish. Preparing for the future of space exploration. Mars is not just a target for exploration, it's a stepping stone for the broader goal of space colonization. If humans are to live and work beyond Earth, Mars represents the most logical place to start. Its relative proximity to Earth means we can get there within months rather than years. It has the resources, like water, ice, and carbon dioxide, that we can potentially use to create fuel, air, and even building materials. And with its gravity being about 1/3 that of Earth's, it offers a more hospitable environment for long-term human habitation than the airless Moon. Mars is also a testing ground for the technologies we will need to explore even further into the solar system and beyond. Establishing a human presence on Mars will require innovations in spacecraft design, life support systems, and sustainable resource utilization. These advances will not only benefit future Mars missions but also pave the way for deeper space exploration, to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and perhaps one day to other star systems. Mars as humanity's backup plan. In recent years, the idea of Mars as a backup planet for humanity has gained traction. As Earth faces increasing environmental challenges, from climate change to overpopulation to the potential for natural or man-made disasters, some visionaries see Mars as a potential second home for humans. While this idea is still far from being a reality, the concept of planetary insurance is a powerful motivator for many space exploration advocates. Elon Musk, founder of SpaceX, has famously spoken about making humanity a multiplanetary species, with Mars as the first step. The logic is simple. If something were to happen to Earth, having a self-sustaining human colony on Mars could ensure the survival of our species. This doesn't mean abandoning Earth, but rather expanding our presence in the universe to increase our chances of long-term survival. The challenges ahead. Of course, the idea of colonizing Mars is not without its critics. The challenges are immense, and some question whether the billions or trillions of dollars required for a manned mission to Mars might be better spent addressing problems here on Earth. There are ethical questions too about the impact humans might have on Mars' environment and the potential contamination of the planet, especially if we find life there. But despite these challenges, the pursuit of Mars remains a powerful symbol of human ambition and curiosity. The journey to Mars is about more than just exploration. It's about pushing the boundaries of what we know and what we're capable of. It's about the desire to reach for the stars and discover what lies beyond the next horizon. Mars is the planet that makes sense scientifically, strategically, and philosophically. It offers the potential for groundbreaking discoveries, both in terms of understanding our place in the cosmos and in pushing the limits of human ingenuity. In the next chapter, we'll delve into the history of Mars exploration, tracing the steps that have brought us to the threshold of this new era of space exploration. Chapter 2: The History of Mars Exploration. The story of Mars exploration begins long before humanity had the technology to send rockets into space. It is a tale that stretches back to ancient civilizations, through centuries of scientific discovery, and into the modern era of robotic missions. The history of our fascination with Mars is one of curiosity, imagination, and relentless pursuit of knowledge, an ongoing journey that has culminated in the real possibility of sending humans to the Red Planet. Ancient observations and early theories. Mars has captivated human beings for thousands of years. Ancient Egyptians were some of the first to observe Mars, tracking its movements across the night sky over 3,500 years ago. The Babylonians, Greeks, and Romans also noted the planet's unusual reddish hue, associating it with their gods of war, Ares in Greece, Mars in Rome. This connection with war and conflict persisted across cultures, making Mars a symbol of both mystery and power. Early astronomers struggled to understand the motion of Mars. Unlike the stars, which followed regular patterns, Mars appeared to move erratically, sometimes even seeming to reverse its course in the sky. This phenomenon, known as retrograde motion, puzzled astronomers for centuries. It wasn't until the 16th century when Nicholas Copernicus proposed the heliocentric model of the solar system, with the Sun at the center, that we began to understand why. Mars, like Earth, orbits the Sun, and its apparent backward motion is simply the result of Earth overtaking Mars in their respective orbits. In the 17th century, the invention of the telescope opened a new chapter in the study of Mars. Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei became the first person to observe Mars through a telescope in 1610, and in the years that followed, astronomers like Christian Huygens and Giovanni Cassini made detailed drawings of the planet's surface, identifying its polar ice caps and speculating about the possibility of water. The Martian canals and early speculations of life. By the late 19th century, Mars had become a focal point for speculation about extraterrestrial life. Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli's observations in 1877 led to one of the most enduring and controversial ideas in Mars history, the canals of Mars. Schiaparelli observed what appeared to be long, straight lines crisscrossing the surface of Mars, which he referred to as canali, meaning channels or grooves. However, this term was mistranslated into English as canals, sparking wild speculation that these features were artificial structures built by an advanced Martian civilization. American astronomer Percival Lowell took this idea and ran with it. In the 1890s, Lowell published a series of books arguing that the canals were evidence of intelligent life on Mars. According to Lowell, the canals were part of a vast irrigation system designed to bring water from Mars' polar ice caps to the planet's arid equatorial regions. Although Lowell's theories were eventually discredited as optical illusions, they captured the public imagination and cemented the idea of Mars as a potentially inhabited world in popular culture. This period of speculation also inspired some of the earliest works of science fiction, most notably H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, 1898. Wells' vision of a Martian invasion of Earth reflected both the fascination with and fear of the unknown that characterized humanity's relationship with Mars at the time. The idea of life on Mars became a staple of science fiction, from Edgar Rice Burroughs' Barsoom series to Ray Bradbury's The Martian Chronicles. The space age, from flybys to landers. The dawn of the space age in the mid-20th century brought the first real opportunities to explore Mars up close. In 1965, NASA's Mariner 4 spacecraft performed the first successful flyby of Mars, sending back 21 images of its surface. These images shattered many of the romanticized notions of Mars as a world teeming with life. Instead of green vegetation or Martian cities, Mariner 4 revealed a barren landscape covered in impact craters, more akin to the Moon than Earth. Despite this, interest in Mars only grew. NASA's Viking missions of the 1970s marked a major milestone in Mars exploration. Viking 1 and Viking 2 became the first spacecraft to successfully land on Mars, each carrying instruments designed to search for signs of life. While the Viking experiments did not find definitive evidence of biological activity, they provided unprecedented data on Mars' atmosphere and surface conditions. The 1990s and 2000s saw a resurgence in Mars exploration, driven by advances in technology and a renewed interest in the possibility of water and life on Mars. The Mars Global Surveyor, launched in 1996, mapped the entire surface of Mars, revealing evidence of ancient river valleys, lake beds, and flood channels. NASA's Mars Pathfinder mission, which landed in 1997, introduced the world to Sojourner, the first rover to explore the surface of another planet. The era of rovers, a new chapter in exploration. Mars exploration took a giant leap forward in 2004 with the arrival of NASA's twin rovers, Spirit and Opportunity. These robotic explorers were designed to search for signs of past water activity on Mars, and they exceeded all expectations. Opportunity, in particular, far outlasted its intended 90-day mission, exploring the Martian surface for nearly 15 years. It discovered clear evidence that Mars had once been home to liquid water, further fueling the possibility that Mars could have supported life in the past. Following Opportunity's success, NASA's next-generation rover, Curiosity, landed on Mars in 2012. Curiosity was equipped with more advanced scientific instruments, allowing it to analyze the chemical composition of Martian rocks and soil in greater detail. One of Curiosity's key findings was the detection of organic molecules, complex carbon-based compounds that are the building blocks of life. This discovery suggested that Mars may have once had the right conditions for life to arise. In 2021, NASA's Perseverance rover continued the tradition of robotic exploration. Unlike its predecessors, Perseverance is specifically designed to search for signs of ancient microbial life. It is equipped with a drill to collect samples of Martian rock and soil, which future missions may return to Earth for analysis. Perseverance also brought along a small helicopter named Ingenuity, which became the first aircraft to fly on another planet. International efforts and the road ahead. Mars exploration is not limited to NASA. In recent years, space agencies from around the world have joined the quest to unlock the mysteries of the Red Planet. The European Space Agency, ESA, has contributed with missions like the Mars Express Orbiter, which continues to study Mars' atmosphere and geology. India's Space Agency, ISRO, successfully launched its Mars Orbiter mission in 2013, becoming the first Asian nation to reach Mars. China's Tianwen-1 mission, launched in 2020, became the first mission to include an orbiter, lander, and rover all in one. The mission's rover Zhurong has been exploring Mars' Utopia Planitia region, further expanding humanity's understanding of the planet. As we look to the future, the next great challenge is clear: sending humans to Mars. Space agencies and private companies alike are working on plans for crewed missions, with NASA's Artemis program and SpaceX's ambitious Starship project aiming to make this dream a reality within the next few decades. A journey of discovery. From ancient observations to modern robotic missions, the history of Mars exploration has been one of continuous discovery. Each new mission has brought us closer to answering the big questions. Did Mars once harbor life? Could it still? And perhaps most exciting of all, what will it take to make Mars humanity's next home? Chapter 3: The Technological Challenges of Reaching Mars. Sending humans to Mars is one of the most ambitious goals humanity has ever pursued. The journey to the Red Planet isn't just about distance. It's about overcoming a vast array of technical and human challenges. While robotic missions have given us valuable insights into Mars, sending humans there is a different level of complexity. It's not only about the rockets that get us there, but also about keeping people alive for months in space and on a planet that's hostile to life as we know it. In this chapter, we'll dive into the technical hurdles that must be cleared before the first human sets foot on Mars. These challenges test the limits of our current technology and require innovations in everything from propulsion systems to life support and habitat construction. As daunting as these obstacles may seem, progress is being made, bringing humanity ever closer to this monumental achievement. The distance problem. The most immediate challenge of reaching Mars is the sheer distance between Earth and the Red Planet. Unlike the Moon, which is a mere 384,000 kilometers away, Mars can be over 200 million kilometers from Earth, depending on the alignment of the planets. This means that, even with the fastest rockets we have today, a one-way trip to Mars would take between 6 and 9 months. That's 6 to 9 months of astronauts traveling through deep space, cut off from the resources and support systems of Earth. In space, there's no room for error. Every system, from the engines that propel the spacecraft to the equipment that provides food, water, and air, must function perfectly for the entire duration of the mission. The long journey also exposes astronauts to significant risks, including radiation from the sun and cosmic rays, which can damage their health over time. One solution being explored is advanced propulsion systems, such as nuclear thermal propulsion or ion drives, which could shorten the travel time significantly. These technologies are still in development, but they offer hope for faster and more efficient journeys to Mars. Reducing the time astronauts spend in transit not only lowers their exposure to radiation but also reduces the amount of food, water, and other supplies they would need to bring along, lightening the load on the spacecraft. Radiation, the invisible enemy. Space is not a friendly environment for human life. Beyond Earth's protective magnetic field and atmosphere, astronauts are exposed to high levels of cosmic radiation. On a trip to Mars, this radiation could pose serious health risks, including increased cancer rates and damage to the brain and other organs. Long-term exposure to space radiation is one of the most significant challenges we face in sending humans to Mars. Scientists and engineers are exploring several strategies to mitigate this risk. One approach is to build spacecraft with better radiation shielding, using materials that can block or absorb harmful particles. Some concepts even propose using water or other supplies as shielding, packing them around the crew's quarters to create a protective barrier. Another idea is to develop spacecraft that can generate artificial magnetic fields to mimic Earth's protective bubble, though this technology is still in its infancy. Once on Mars, the radiation problem doesn't go away. Mars lacks a strong magnetic field and has a very thin atmosphere, meaning its surface is constantly bombarded with radiation from space. Any long-term habitats on Mars will need to be built with this in mind, perhaps underground or covered in thick layers of regolith, the Martian soil, to shield the occupants from radiation, sustaining life, air, water, and food. Keeping astronauts alive on the journey to Mars is one thing, ensuring they survive once they get there is another. Mars' environment is extremely hostile to human life. The planet's atmosphere is composed mostly of carbon dioxide, with only trace amounts of oxygen. The air pressure on Mars is also less than 1% of Earth's, meaning astronauts won't be able to step outside without wearing pressurized suits. One of the most critical challenges is providing astronauts with a steady supply of oxygen. While we can send oxygen with them from Earth, a long-term mission requires a more sustainable solution. One promising technology is called MOXIE, Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment, which is designed to produce oxygen from the carbon dioxide in Mars' atmosphere. MOXIE was successfully tested on NASA's Perseverance rover and could pave the way for larger systems capable of supporting human life. Water is another essential resource. While Mars has water ice at its poles and potentially in underground reservoirs, it's not as readily accessible as it is on Earth. Future missions will need to develop ways to extract, purify, and store water on Mars. Technologies that recycle water, such as those used on the International Space Station, will also play a crucial role. As for food, growing crops on Mars presents a significant challenge. The Martian soil is not ideal for farming, lacking the nutrients that plants need to thrive. However, researchers are working on ways to modify the soil and use hydroponic or aeroponic systems, which allow plants to grow without soil, using nutrient-rich water or air. These systems could provide a sustainable source of food for future Martian settlers. The challenges of transportation and landing. Getting to Mars is one thing, but landing on the planet presents a whole new set of challenges. Mars' thin atmosphere makes landing much more difficult than on Earth. While there's enough atmosphere to create friction and heat during descent, it's not thick enough to slow down a spacecraft effectively. Large parachutes, heat shields, and retro rockets will all need to work in perfect harmony to bring a human mission safely to the Martian surface. Current robotic missions, like the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers, have used sophisticated landing techniques, such as the sky crane system, to lower the rovers onto the surface. However, landing humans and the much larger equipment they will need is a far more complex task. Engineers are working on ways to safely land heavier payloads on Mars, which will be crucial for transporting habitats, vehicles, and supplies. Once on the surface, astronauts will need vehicles to explore the planet and transport equipment. These vehicles must be able to operate in Mars' harsh conditions, including its dust storms and extreme temperatures. They must also be powered by renewable energy, as the ability to bring large amounts of fuel from Earth will be limited. Building a home on Mars. The final piece of the puzzle is constructing habitats where humans can live and work on Mars. These habitats will need to protect astronauts from the planet's extreme cold, low pressure, and radiation. They will also need to be self-sustaining, recycling air, water, and waste to minimize the need for resupply missions from Earth. Several concepts for Martian habitats are being explored, ranging from inflatable structures that can be transported and deployed on the surface, to underground bases carved into Mars' natural landscape. 3D printing technology could also play a role, allowing habitats to be built using materials found on Mars itself, such as regolith. This would reduce the need to transport heavy building materials from Earth, making the mission more feasible and cost-effective. Ultimately, building a base on Mars isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. The goal is to create an environment where astronauts can live for extended periods, conduct scientific research, and even begin the process of making Mars more habitable for future generations. This could involve everything from growing food to experimenting with new technologies for resource extraction and energy production. The road ahead. Reaching Mars is not just a question of overcoming one big obstacle. It's about solving countless smaller problems, each of which presents its own unique challenges. The technology we're developing today, whether it's advanced propulsion systems, life support innovations, or sustainable habitats, will lay the foundation for humanity's future on Mars. But the journey to Mars is not just a technical challenge. It's a testament to the human spirit of exploration, to our unrelenting desire to push beyond the boundaries of the known world and discover what lies beyond. With every new breakthrough, we move one step closer to making Mars the next home for humanity. Next, we'll look at the detailed planning process that goes into preparing for a mission to Mars. How do scientists and engineers prepare for such an epic journey, and what strategies are being developed to ensure its success? Chapter 4. The First Steps, Mission Planning and Preparation. Sending humans to Mars isn't just a grand vision. It's an intricate dance of logistics, timing, and precision that requires years, even decades, of planning. Every aspect of the mission, from the design of the spacecraft to the landing procedures, must be meticulously prepared and tested. The stakes are incredibly high and there's little room for error. For Mars, every detail matters. But beyond the technical challenges, there's something deeper driving the mission: the need to ensure that humanity's journey to Mars is not just a one-way trip, but a sustainable venture that could one day open the door to permanent human settlement. In this chapter, we explore how mission planners are tackling this massive undertaking, how they prepare for every contingency, and how the dream of Mars is being translated into concrete action. Launching windows and timing the journey. Mars isn't always within reach. In fact, it only comes close to Earth every 26 months, in an event known as a launch window. During these windows, the orbits of Earth and Mars align in such a way that the distance between the two planets is minimized, making it the ideal time to send spacecraft. Planning a mission to Mars begins with these windows because missing one means waiting another 2 years to try again. Mission planners carefully calculate the trajectory of the spacecraft, using the alignment of the planets to their advantage. This process, known as the Hohmann transfer orbit, allows a spacecraft to slingshot from Earth to Mars, using the least amount of fuel possible. It's a precise calculation where timing is everything, both in leaving Earth and arriving at Mars. A slight miscalculation could result in a spacecraft overshooting the planet or arriving at a time when landing conditions are unfavorable. The launch itself is another crucial moment. Rockets capable of carrying a crew and all their necessary supplies need to be powerful enough to break free from Earth's gravity, while also being able to transport equipment that will keep astronauts alive on the long journey. This requires rockets much larger than those used for previous missions to the Moon or Mars robots, which is why vehicles like NASA's Space Launch System, SLS, and SpaceX's Starship are being developed specifically with Mars in mind. The journey, surviving space. Once the spacecraft is launched and on its way, astronauts face one of the most challenging phases of the mission, the months-long journey through deep space. This voyage is not a simple road trip but a survival test in one of the most unforgiving environments imaginable. Spacecraft designed for this journey must be equipped with everything the crew needs for survival: air, water, food, power, and protection from space's many dangers. One of the greatest threats during the journey is radiation. Without Earth's atmosphere and magnetic field to protect them, astronauts will be exposed to cosmic rays and solar radiation for an extended period. The spacecraft will need to be shielded from this radiation, and mission planners are also exploring ways to use innovative materials or structures that can offer additional protection, perhaps even using water tanks or supplies as barriers. Life support systems are also a key part of the planning. Astronauts will need a steady supply of oxygen, and waste, whether solid, liquid, or gas, will need to be carefully managed. Every drop of water and every breath of air must be recycled and reused as efficiently as possible, because there's no resupply station in space. Technologies developed for the International Space Station (ISS), which recycles almost all of its water, are being adapted for Mars missions to ensure sustainability. Meanwhile, keeping the crew healthy, both physically and mentally, is another challenge. In the weightless environment of space, muscles and bones weaken, and astronauts need to exercise daily to combat these effects. The isolation and distance from Earth, with no immediate help in case of emergencies, adds a psychological strain. Planners are exploring ways to provide support and comfort for the astronauts, ensuring they stay mentally sharp for the challenges ahead. Landing on Mars, a complex task. Perhaps the most nerve-wracking moment of any Mars mission will be the landing. Getting a spacecraft safely onto the Martian surface has been one of the biggest challenges in space exploration, as evidenced by the mixed success rate of past robotic missions. Mars' thin atmosphere doesn't provide enough friction to slow a spacecraft down as it would on Earth, but there's just enough atmosphere to require heat shielding during descent. This creates a tricky balance for engineers to solve. For humans, landing on Mars will be even more challenging. The spacecraft will be heavier, requiring more sophisticated landing technology. In robotic missions, NASA has experimented with various systems: parachutes, heat shields, and even sky cranes, but these technologies will need to be scaled up significantly to accommodate human missions. One possible solution being developed is using inflatable heat shields that expand as the spacecraft enters the Martian atmosphere. These would increase drag, slowing the spacecraft down without the need for massive parachutes. At the same time, landing systems will need to ensure that the spacecraft can touch down in a safe area, free from boulders or steep slopes, that has been scouted by orbiters or earlier missions. But landing isn't just about touching down, it's about touching down in the right place. Where humans land on Mars will have a major impact on the mission's success. Planners are targeting locations near water ice deposits or areas with geological interest, places where the astronauts can conduct scientific experiments while also ensuring access to essential resources. Staying alive on Mars. Once on Mars, astronauts will face an entirely new set of challenges. The planet's thin atmosphere offers no protection from cosmic radiation, and temperatures can plummet to deadly lows. Mars' gravity is about one-third that of Earth's, which will affect how astronauts move, work, and adapt physically over time. And then there's the issue of air. There's none to breathe. To survive, astronauts will need habitats that protect them from the harsh conditions. These habitats must be capable of recycling air and water, generating power, and providing a stable environment for months, if not years. Early habitats may be pre-packaged and transported from Earth, designed to be inflated or assembled on Mars. Others may be built on-site, using materials found on Mars itself, like the planet's abundant dust and rock, through 3D printing or other construction methods. Power is another essential element. Solar panels are the most obvious choice, but Mars receives less sunlight than Earth, and its frequent dust storms can cover panels for weeks at a time. As a result, mission planners are also exploring nuclear power as a reliable backup, ensuring that astronauts have the energy they need, no matter what Mars throws their way. Communication with Earth is another hurdle. Given the vast distance, it can take up to 20 minutes for a signal to travel from Mars to Earth. This means real-time communication isn't possible, and astronauts will need to be highly autonomous, able to solve problems on their own without immediate guidance from mission control. Planning for contingencies. As with any complex mission, one of the most critical parts of the planning process is preparing for the unexpected. What happens if a spacecraft malfunctions en route? What if a key system breaks down while on Mars? How do astronauts deal with a medical emergency millions of kilometers away from Earth? Mission planners are designing the Mars mission with contingencies in mind. Redundancy is key. Every system will have backups, and astronauts will be trained to handle a wide range of scenarios. Moreover, technologies like 3D printing could allow astronauts to manufacture replacement parts on Mars, reducing their reliance on Earth for resupply. Another consideration is the possibility of aborting the mission. While everyone hopes this won't be necessary, it's essential to have a plan for returning to Earth safely, whether that means cutting the mission short or finding ways to extend it until help can arrive. The path forward. The journey to Mars will be humanity's most daring adventure yet, requiring unprecedented levels of preparation, technology, and cooperation. The planning phase is as critical as the mission itself, laying the groundwork for everything that will follow. Every decision made now will determine the success or failure of the mission, and every solution we develop will help build the future of human exploration. We are no longer just dreaming of Mars, we are actively preparing to make it a reality. As the plans come together and technology continues to advance, the path to Mars becomes clearer, with each step bringing us closer to this incredible leap for humankind. Chapter 5. Living on Mars, Habitats, Resources, and Sustainability. Living on Mars will require a combination of ingenuity, technology, and adaptability. The environment is unlike anything we've experienced, and building a self-sustaining presence there will push the boundaries of what we understand about life off Earth. On Mars, the air is too thin to breathe, the temperatures are too cold for human comfort, and the surface is bombarded by radiation. Yet, despite these challenges, the dream of making Mars a home for humanity is alive and achievable. This chapter explores what life on Mars might look like, focusing on how astronauts will build, maintain, and live in habitats designed to protect them from the planet's harsh conditions. It will also examine how we plan to utilize the planet's resources to create a sustainable environment where humans can not only survive but thrive. Building a home in a hostile environment. One of the first and most critical challenges is creating habitats that can withstand Mars' extreme conditions. The thin atmosphere offers almost no protection from radiation or meteor strikes, and temperatures can drop to -60 degrees Celsius or lower at night. So, the question is, how do we build a home in such a place? The first step will likely involve prefabricated habitats sent from Earth. These structures will be lightweight, easy to assemble, and designed to be airtight, protecting astronauts from the unbreathable Martian atmosphere. However, these early habitats are just the beginning. For longer-term missions, sustainability is key, and that means using Mars' natural resources to reduce dependence on Earth. Scientists and engineers are exploring the possibility of building with Martian materials. The idea is to use what's already available, namely the planet's abundant soil known as regolith. 3D printing technology could play a crucial role in this effort. By combining Martian regolith with binders, future habitats might be printed layer by layer, creating thick, insulated walls that can protect against radiation and temperature swings. Mars' gravity, which is about 1/3 that of Earth, also impacts how habitats are designed. Structures won't need to support the same weight as they would on Earth, allowing for more innovative designs that could stretch the limits of what we imagine a home on Mars might look like. But habitats aren't just about protection. They must provide everything astronauts need to live. Inside these structures, life support systems will generate oxygen, recycle water, and manage waste. These systems are critical as they will enable astronauts to live semi-independently from Earth, reducing the need for constant resupply missions. Harnessing local resources, the key to sustainability. Perhaps the most exciting aspect of living on Mars is the potential to use the planet's resources to support human life. This concept, known as in situ resource utilization (ISRU), will be central to creating a sustainable presence on Mars. Without it, astronauts would be entirely dependent on supplies from Earth, making long-term missions impractical. Water is one of the most important resources, and there's evidence that Mars has a significant amount of it, though not in liquid form. Much of Mars' water is locked in ice, either at the poles or below the surface. Future missions will likely focus on locating and extracting this water. Once extracted, water can be used for drinking, growing food, and even split into hydrogen and oxygen, which could serve as rocket fuel and breathable air. Mars' atmosphere, while thin, is rich in carbon dioxide. Technologies like the MOXIE experiment, currently being tested on the Perseverance rover, have already shown that we can convert Martian CO2 into oxygen. Scaling up this technology would be essential for providing breathable air in habitats and supporting human life over the long term. The planet's abundant sunlight, despite being weaker than on Earth, can also be harnessed for energy. Solar panels are already being used by rovers and landers, and they will likely be a primary power source for Martian habitats. However, Mars' infamous dust storms, which can last for weeks, pose a challenge for solar energy. To address this, mission planners are exploring backup options such as nuclear power, which could provide a reliable energy source even during periods of low sunlight. Growing food on Mars, feeding the pioneers. No mission to Mars can succeed without a sustainable food supply. Shipping food from Earth isn't feasible in the long run, so astronauts will need to grow their own food on the red planet. The good news is that scientists are already experimenting with ways to grow crops in environments similar to Mars. Martian soil, while not naturally fertile, could be treated or supplemented with nutrients to support plant life. Experiments on Earth using simulated Martian soil have shown that plants like potatoes and certain grains can grow in this environment, although they need considerable help. Hydroponic farming, growing plants in nutrient-rich water rather than soil, may be a more effective method, as it eliminates the need for soil altogether. This method also allows for more control over the growing conditions, which is important in the unpredictable Martian climate. The goal is to create a closed-loop system where food can be grown using recycled water and nutrients from waste products. This kind of self-sustaining ecosystem would be a game-changer for long-term missions, reducing reliance on Earth and allowing astronauts to stay on Mars for extended periods. Astronauts will also need to adapt to a diet based on what can be grown in such an environment. Fresh fruits and vegetables will be a luxury, and meals may consist mostly of grains, legumes, and other crops that are easy to grow in controlled conditions. While this may seem limiting, the psychological benefits of eating fresh, homegrown food on an otherwise barren planet cannot be overstated. The psychological and social challenges of isolation. Living on Mars isn't just a physical challenge, it's a psychological one. The isolation of being millions of kilometers from Earth, in an environment where one mistake could be fatal, will test the mental resilience of astronauts in ways we have never seen before. Communication with Earth will be delayed by up to 20 minutes each way, making real-time conversations impossible. This delay forces astronauts to solve problems independently, relying on their training and each other for support. Moreover, living in close quarters with the same small group of people for months or years can create tension. Mission planners are well aware of the social dynamics that could arise, and crew selection will be critical. The astronauts chosen for Mars will not only need to be highly skilled, but also adaptable, with strong communication skills and emotional resilience. To mitigate the psychological effects of isolation, astronauts will likely have access to virtual reality systems that allow them to escape to more familiar environments, even if just for a few minutes a day. They'll also maintain regular contact with family and mission control, albeit delayed, to stay connected with life back on Earth. Creating a sense of purpose and routine will also be essential. Astronauts will be constantly engaged in scientific experiments, maintenance of their habitat, and preparing for exploration missions on the surface. This sense of ongoing discovery and contribution to a greater goal could be one of the key motivators that helps them push through the inevitable difficulties of life on Mars. The first Martians, what life could look like. As we imagine what life on Mars will be like, we must consider that the first humans to live there will be pioneers in every sense of the word. Their experience will be entirely unlike anything we've known before. They will be astronauts, scientists, engineers, and settlers all at once, working not only to survive but also to lay the foundation for a future where humans might one day live on Mars permanently. Every aspect of life on Mars will require adaptation. From how they work to how they sleep, how they interact with each other, and how they cope with the reality of being on a different planet. But these pioneers will also be doing something incredible. They will be the first humans to create a home on another world. While life on Mars will be difficult, it will also be filled with moments of wonder. Imagine standing on the surface of Mars, watching a sunset through the thin, pink-tinged atmosphere, knowing you are farther from Earth than anyone has ever been. Imagine conducting groundbreaking research that could answer some of the most profound questions about life in the universe. These are the experiences that will make the hardships worth it. The road to self-sufficiency. The ultimate goal of living on Mars is not just to survive but to thrive. Over time, habitats will become more advanced, and the need for resupply from Earth will diminish as we master the art of using Mars resources. Eventually, the goal is to establish a self-sustaining colony, where humans can live, work, and even raise families. This vision is still a long way off, but every mission to Mars brings us closer. The first steps are about learning how to live in this alien environment, how to build, grow, and adapt. But with each success, we move closer to the day when Mars is not just a place we visit, but a place we call home. Next, we'll look at the psychological and physical impacts that living on Mars could have on astronauts. What does it take, mentally and physically, to thrive on a planet so far from Earth? Chapter 6. The psychological and physical impact on astronauts. Living and working on Mars will not just challenge the mind, it will push the human body and psyche to their limits in ways we've never fully experienced. While technology will play a crucial role in ensuring survival, the true heart of any Mars mission lies in the people sent to live there. These individuals will face months of isolation, an unfamiliar landscape, and the weight of representing all of humanity on a foreign planet. The psychological and physical toll of such an experience will be immense, and understanding and preparing for these impacts will be key to ensuring the mission's success. Mental strain of isolation. One of the most profound challenges astronauts will face on Mars is isolation. 4 months, they will live in confined spaces, cut off from Earth by millions of kilometers and time delays that make real-time communication impossible. Every problem they encounter will need to be solved by the crew, with limited immediate support from mission control. This level of isolation, with no chance of returning to Earth quickly, creates a unique psychological environment. Astronauts on the International Space Station (ISS) experience isolation, but their situation is not comparable to what the first crew on Mars will face. The ISS orbits Earth in low Earth orbit, and astronauts there can see their home planet, communicate in real time with mission control, and return to Earth within hours if necessary. On Mars, however, there will be no such comfort. The sheer distance from Earth will make home feel like a distant memory, with only delayed video messages and transmissions to remind the crew of the world they left behind. The psychological strain of isolation can manifest in many ways: loneliness, depression, anxiety, and even tension among crew members. Each individual will need to cope with the mental challenge of living so far from everything they know, without the possibility of escape. To prepare, astronauts undergo rigorous psychological training to help them manage stress, develop coping mechanisms, and learn how to communicate effectively in tight-knit groups. Coping with confinement and monotony. In addition to isolation, there is the challenge of confinement. Mars will not offer the expansive living spaces we enjoy on Earth. The crew will spend the majority of their time in small, pressurized habitats, working in limited spaces with the same people day after day. While the landscape of Mars itself is vast and awe-inspiring, astronauts will only occasionally venture outside for brief, carefully controlled exploration missions. Confinement has been shown to affect mood, productivity, and interpersonal relationships. Astronauts will be trained to deal with the monotony of a routine that will likely be predictable. Sleep, eat, work, repeat. Unlike Earth, where the environment constantly changes and we have the freedom to move around and experience novelty, life on Mars will be far more static. Days will blend together, and maintaining mental stimulation will be critical to avoiding burnout or boredom. To combat these challenges, mission planners are developing ways to break the monotony. One approach involves creating a structured daily schedule that balances work, exercise, social interaction, and downtime. Virtual reality (VR) might play an important role in this process, allowing astronauts to escape into simulated environments that offer mental breaks from their confined reality. Whether it's exploring Earth landscapes, playing games, or even virtually socializing with friends and family back home, VR could be a powerful tool in maintaining mental health on Mars. Interpersonal dynamics. Living in such close quarters, interpersonal relationships will be tested. The team dynamic is essential to the success of any space mission. On Mars, conflicts or breakdowns in communication could have disastrous consequences. Unlike on Earth, there will be no immediate outside intervention to resolve disagreements or tensions. The crew must learn to handle these situations on their own, relying on trust, empathy, and conflict resolution skills. Astronaut selection is therefore critical. Crews will be chosen not only for their technical expertise but for their ability to function in high-stress environments over long periods. Emotional intelligence, resilience, and the capacity to work well in a team are just as important as scientific or engineering skills. Before departing, astronauts undergo extensive psychological testing and team-building exercises to ensure they can function harmoniously under pressure. It's not just about getting along, though. It's about forming a bond strong enough to endure the highs and lows of life on another planet. Shared experiences, a sense of collective purpose, and regular communication will be key to maintaining a positive crew dynamic. Astronauts will also need to stay aware of their own emotional and mental states, recognizing when they need to take a break, ask for help, or provide support to others. The physical toll of Mars' environment. Mars presents a unique set of physical challenges. The planet's gravity is only about one-third of Earth's, which will have profound effects on the human body. Over time, exposure to low gravity can lead to muscle atrophy and bone density loss, as the body no longer has to work as hard to support its own weight. This effect has been observed in astronauts on the ISS, where regular exercise is required to mitigate these effects in microgravity. On Mars, while gravity is stronger than on the ISS, it is still much weaker than Earth's. This means that astronauts will need to engage in daily exercise routines designed to maintain muscle mass and bone strength. Equipment like resistance machines and treadmills will be vital, helping the crew keep their bodies in shape despite the reduced gravitational load. The Martian environment also poses other physical risks. The atmosphere is not breathable, so every excursion outside the habitat will require a pressurized suit and an oxygen supply. These spacesuits will need to be flexible enough for astronauts to perform tasks while offering protection from Mars' cold temperatures and radiation. Over time, prolonged use of these suits, combined with the daily routine of living in a pressurized environment, could lead to fatigue and stress on the body. Radiation is another major concern. Without Earth's protective magnetic field, astronauts on Mars will be exposed to much higher levels of cosmic radiation. This exposure increases the risk of cancer and other health issues. Mission planners are exploring ways to mitigate this risk, including building habitats underground or using the Martian soil, regolith, as a shield. Even so, radiation will remain a long-term challenge for human health on Mars. Adaptation and resilience. Despite these challenges, the human body and mind are remarkably adaptable. Throughout history, people have thrived in some of Earth's most extreme environments, from polar regions to the depths of the ocean. On Mars, astronauts will rely on this same adaptability. Over time, their bodies will adjust to the lower gravity, and they will develop routines and coping mechanisms to deal with the psychological stress of isolation and confinement. Astronauts are chosen for their resilience, their ability to remain focused and positive even in the face of adversity. But they will not face these challenges alone. NASA and other space agencies will provide them with ongoing support, including regular psychological check-ins, communication with loved ones, and tools to manage stress and mental health. As the mission progresses, New technologies and strategies will be developed to make life on Mars more comfortable and sustainable. What's more, the sheer magnitude of the mission, the knowledge that they are part of one of the greatest human endeavors in history, will provide astronauts with a sense of purpose that can help them overcome even the most difficult moments. They are not just surviving on Mars, they are paving the way for future generations of explorers. A new type of human experience. Life on Mars will redefine what it means to be human. Astronauts will live in an environment where the familiar rules of Earth no longer apply. Time, distance, and even gravity will have different meanings. But in adapting to these new realities, astronauts will gain a deeper understanding of both Mars and themselves. Their experience will teach us more than just how to survive in space. It will reveal what we are truly capable of as a species. The challenges of isolation, confinement, and physical hardship will push human limits, but they will also expand them. In the process, the first Martians will lay the foundation for a future where humans not only explore distant worlds but learn to live on them. Next, we'll explore the possibility of terraforming Mars. Is it science fiction, or could humanity one day transform the planet into a more Earth-like environment? Chapter 7: Terraforming Mars. Science fiction or future reality? As we think about living on Mars, one idea consistently sparks the imagination: the possibility of transforming the red planet into something more like Earth. Could we, in time, create an environment on Mars where humans can walk outside without spacesuits, where plants grow freely, and where lakes and rivers flow under blue skies? This concept, known as terraforming, is a bold vision that has captivated scientists, science fiction writers, and dreamers alike. Yet, as exciting as the idea of terraforming is, it remains a monumental challenge, one that sits at the crossroads of science, engineering, and philosophy. Transforming an entire planet requires not only technological innovation but a deep understanding of the complex environmental systems that make a planet habitable. While some see terraforming as the ultimate goal of human expansion into space, others argue that the sheer scale and uncertainty make it closer to fiction than reality. Let's explore the concept of terraforming Mars and consider the possibilities, challenges, and ethical questions that surround it. The vision of a transformed Mars. Terraforming Mars, at its core, is about creating a self-sustaining, Earth-like environment on a planet that currently cannot support human life. The most critical challenge is Mars' thin atmosphere. With atmospheric pressure less than 1% of Earth's, and composed primarily of carbon dioxide, Mars is inhospitable to humans and most known life forms. If we could thicken the atmosphere, increase its temperature, and introduce oxygen, Mars might become more suitable for human habitation. The process would begin by warming the planet. Mars is much colder than Earth, with average surface temperatures around -60 degrees Celsius. Warming the planet would allow for liquid water to exist on the surface, a key requirement for sustaining life. Scientists have proposed several ways to accomplish this, from releasing greenhouse gases to trapping more heat, to installing giant mirrors in orbit that reflect sunlight down to the planet's surface. These methods, while theoretically possible, would require significant technological advances and large-scale engineering efforts. Once the temperature rises and ice starts to melt, we could begin the next phase, creating a breathable atmosphere. This would involve increasing the oxygen levels, either through the use of photosynthetic organisms or advanced chemical processes. Oxygen is a byproduct of plants and microorganisms, and some scientists envision using specially designed plants or microbes to slowly convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. However, this process could take centuries, if not millennia, to create an atmosphere thick enough for humans to breathe without assistance. Ultimately, the goal would be to establish a balance where the planet's atmosphere and ecosystems can maintain themselves, much like Earth's. The dream is not just to survive on Mars but to thrive, to build cities, grow forests, and perhaps even establish a new Earth-like environment where future generations can live, work, and grow. The science and the challenges. While the vision of a terraformed Mars is compelling, the science behind it reveals significant hurdles. Mars is a planet that has fundamentally different conditions from Earth, and these differences pose serious challenges to any large-scale transformation efforts. One of the biggest challenges is Mars' lack of a magnetic field. On Earth, the magnetic field protects us from harmful cosmic radiation and solar winds. Mars, however, lost its magnetic field billions of years ago, which is one of the reasons its atmosphere is so thin today. Solar winds have slowly stripped it away. Without this natural shield, any atmosphere we create on Mars could be vulnerable to the same process. This raises the question, even if we managed to thicken Mars' atmosphere, could it be sustained over time? Another challenge is the amount of energy and resources needed. Warming the planet, thickening the atmosphere, and introducing oxygen would require a massive, continuous input of energy. Some proposals suggest using nuclear fusion or solar power to generate the energy needed for these processes, but these technologies are still in their infancy. Moreover, the scale of the operation, covering an entire planet, means that the task would take centuries if not longer. Water is another critical component. While there is water ice on Mars, it's locked in polar ice caps and possibly underground. Melting this ice and creating a stable water cycle would be essential for terraforming, but it's unclear how much accessible water Mars really has, or how difficult it would be to manage once released. Water is crucial not just for life but for regulating the climate. Without enough of it, creating Earth-like conditions would be impossible. Then there's the question of sustaining plant life. Mars soil is rich in toxic chemicals called perchlorates, which would need to be neutralized before any Earth plants could grow. In addition, the planet's low gravity could affect how plants grow and thrive. Even if we managed to modify the atmosphere, we would need to address these challenges to make Mars truly habitable for Earth's ecosystems. Is terraforming ethical? The idea of transforming an entire planet raises profound ethical questions. Mars is a world unto itself, with its own history and potentially its own forms of life, albeit microbial or hidden in its subsurface. Terraforming would irreversibly alter this planet, potentially destroying any native ecosystems that exist. One key ethical question is, do we have the right to alter another planet? Some argue that as humans venture into space, we should act as stewards, not conquerors, preserving Mars in its natural state for future generations to study and explore. Others counter that if Mars is lifeless, transforming it into a habitable environment could be the ultimate act of creating life. After all, we would be taking a dead or dormant world and bringing it to life in a way that benefits humanity and the broader ecosystem. Another consideration is the potential for unintended consequences. On Earth, we've seen how human activities can disrupt natural systems, leading to environmental degradation and climate change. If we attempt to terraform Mars, we risk creating a situation we cannot fully control. The complexity of planetary ecosystems means that small changes can lead to unpredictable outcomes, which could make Mars less hospitable than it is now, or worse, lead to catastrophic failure. The idea of Mars as a second home for humanity also raises questions about equity and access. Who would have the right to live on a terraformed Mars? Would it be limited to a select few, those with the resources to afford it? Could the drive to terraform Mars distract from efforts to address the environmental challenges we face on Earth? These are questions that we will need to grapple with as we move forward with space exploration, a far future dream. At present, terraforming remains firmly in the realm of the future, a goal that even in the most optimistic scenarios would take centuries to achieve. The idea is inspiring and pushes us to think about humanity's role in the universe, but it's also a reminder of how much we still have to learn about the planets around us and the complex systems that make life possible. For now, our focus is on learning how to live on Mars as it is, adapting to the planet's current conditions rather than reshaping them. But even as we work on these practical, near-term goals, the dream of terraforming Mars continues to inspire scientists, engineers, and thinkers to push the boundaries of what's possible. Terraforming Mars may one day represent the pinnacle of human ingenuity, a symbol of our ability to create, explore, and adapt. Or it may serve as a cautionary tale about the limits of our ambition and the unforeseen consequences of large-scale planetary engineering. Either way, the idea of turning Mars into a living, breathing world reminds us of the extraordinary possibilities that await humanity in the vastness of space. Next, we'll explore how Mars could serve as a stepping stone for the broader colonization of space. What lessons could we learn from establishing a foothold on Mars, and how might they shape our future beyond the red planet? Chapter 8. Mars and the Future of Space Colonization. The idea of Mars as humanity's next home is more than a vision for our immediate future. It represents the first step towards something even larger, the colonization of space. Mars is not just a destination, it's a testing ground for what may come next. The knowledge we gain from living and working on the red planet could be the foundation for human expansion beyond our solar system. But what makes Mars so essential in this grand narrative, and how can we use it as a stepping stone for deeper exploration? Mars, the gateway to the stars. Mars presents an opportunity like no other. Its proximity to Earth and its relatively familiar environment make it a logical first step for human colonization. While incredibly hostile compared to Earth, Mars is far more accessible than other worlds in our solar system. Establishing a human presence on Mars could teach us how to live on planets with harsh climates, different atmospheres, and challenging conditions. Mars allows us to practice living off Earth in a way that the Moon cannot. While the Moon is closer, its lack of atmosphere and extreme temperature fluctuations make it less of a candidate for long-term human settlement. Mars, with its atmosphere, however thin, seasons, and evidence of water, gives us a better shot at creating a self-sustaining colony. If we can thrive on Mars, we can apply that knowledge to even more extreme environments elsewhere in the solar system or beyond. The technological advancements developed for Mars, habitat construction, resource extraction, sustainable life support systems, are not just useful for this planet alone. They are prototypes for how humanity could live on the moons of Jupiter or Saturn, or perhaps on planets orbiting other stars. Mars is the proving ground for humanity's future as an interplanetary species. Lessons from Mars: sustainability and self-sufficiency. One of the biggest challenges for space colonization is the need for sustainability. On Earth, we have easy access to air, water, and food, but none of these will be freely available on Mars. Colonizing Mars will require us to learn how to live in an environment that doesn't naturally support human life. The goal is not just to survive but to create a thriving, self-sufficient colony that can exist without constant resupply from Earth. This is where Mars becomes the ultimate test for sustainability. From producing oxygen and water to growing food in Martian soil or hydroponic systems, everything will need to be managed carefully. Over time, the colony would need to generate its own power, maintain its infrastructure, and provide for the needs of its inhabitants without relying on Earth. The lessons learned from this experience could be applied to future colonies on even more distant worlds. Living sustainably on Mars will force us to rethink how we use resources. Recycling will be essential, not just for water and air but for materials used in construction and everyday life. This closed-loop system, where everything is reused and nothing is wasted, could have enormous implications for how we approach resource management back on Earth as well. In a sense, Mars might teach us how to be better stewards of our own planet by pushing us to invent more sustainable practices. The psychological leap: expanding human horizons. Moving to Mars will change not only how we live but also how we think about our place in the universe. For centuries, humanity has been bound to Earth, with the idea of living on another world existing only in the realm of science fiction. Colonizing Mars would represent a profound shift in human consciousness. No longer would we be limited to one planet. Mars would mark the beginning of a future where humans are truly a spacefaring species, capable of living in multiple places across the galaxy. The psychological leap that comes with colonizing Mars cannot be underestimated. Living on another planet will reshape how we view ourselves and our relationship with the universe. It will inspire new cultural, social, and philosophical perspectives. What does it mean to be human when we are no longer tied to a single world? How will life on Mars influence art, literature, and our understanding of society? These questions will become central to the human experience as we expand our reach into the cosmos. Moreover, the experience of colonizing Mars could pave the way for new forms of governance and social structures. How will we organize ourselves on a new planet? Will Martian colonies be extensions of Earth governments, or will they develop their own systems of self-rule? These challenges are more than technical. They are deeply human questions about identity, belonging, and the future of civilization. Mars as a blueprint for future colonies. If we succeed in establishing a human presence on Mars, it will provide a blueprint for future colonies in even more distant and challenging environments. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn, such as Europa and Titan, are intriguing candidates for future exploration. Europa's subsurface ocean and Titan's dense atmosphere make them prime targets for potential colonization, but they pose even greater challenges than Mars. The techniques developed on Mars, using local resources, creating livable habitats, and maintaining a self-sufficient environment, will be essential as we look to these outer moons. While living on Titan or Europa may seem like science fiction today, the same could have been said about Mars just a few decades ago. As we push the boundaries of what's possible, each new step becomes a platform for the next. Beyond our solar system, Mars could serve as a stepping stone for interstellar exploration. The idea of sending humans to planets orbiting distant stars may seem like a far future dream, but Mars could be the first step in developing the technologies and skills needed to make it a reality. Colonizing Mars is not just about expanding within our solar system. It's about setting the stage for humanity's broader journey into the cosmos. The moral and philosophical questions of colonization. As we consider colonizing Mars and beyond, there are deeper moral and philosophical questions that must be addressed. What is our responsibility to the places we colonize? Should we treat Mars and other planets as blank slates, free to be reshaped and inhabited as we see fit, or should we approach them with a sense of stewardship, preserving their natural environments? These questions will become increasingly important as we expand our reach into space. There is also the question of who gets to go. Space colonization will likely begin with a select few, chosen for their skills, health, and ability to withstand the rigors of living in extreme environments. But as colonization expands, issues of equity and access will come to the forefront. How do we ensure that the benefits of space colonization are shared by all of humanity, rather than just a privileged few? These ethical questions, though challenging, are essential to the future of space exploration. As we venture into new worlds, we must think not only about how to survive but about how to build societies that reflect our highest ideals. The path forward, Mars as the next frontier. Mars is not just a distant goal, it's the next frontier in humanity's quest to expand beyond Earth. The challenges are immense, but the potential rewards are even greater. As we move closer to sending humans to Mars, we are laying the groundwork for a future where humans can live on multiple planets, each colony a new chapter in the story of human exploration. The journey to Mars is a journey of discovery, not just about the red planet but about ourselves. It will test our ability to adapt, innovate, and cooperate on a global scale. And as we learn how to live on Mars, we will open the door to a future where the stars are no longer out of reach, but part of the human experience. Chapter 9. International Cooperation in the Mars Mission. Reaching Mars is not something any one country or organization can achieve alone. The scale of the mission, the resources required, and the risks involved make it clear that international cooperation will be essential. The journey to Mars represents one of the most ambitious endeavors in human history, and it will demand contributions from across the globe. Collaboration between space agencies, governments, private companies, and research institutions will shape the mission's success, as well as its impact on the future of space exploration. As humanity looks to Mars, the challenges and opportunities will bring nations together in ways that extend beyond technological expertise. The mission will require shared vision, pooled resources, and coordinated efforts, uniting countries with different goals, capabilities, and cultures under a common banner. This chapter explores how international cooperation is shaping the Mars mission, what it means for the future of space exploration, and the challenges that come with such a massive collaborative effort. The global nature of space exploration. From the earliest days of space travel, international cooperation has played a crucial role in advancing human knowledge. The International Space Station, ISS, stands as the most visible symbol of what nations can achieve when they work together in space. For over 2 decades, the ISS has been a model of international collaboration, with astronauts from the United States, Russia, Japan, Canada, and the European Space Agency living and working side by side. They have conducted research, tested new technologies, and learned how to live in space for extended periods, all invaluable lessons for a future mission to Mars. Mars, however, is a far greater challenge than the ISS. The sheer distance from Earth means that it will take not just a few nations but a global effort to get there. No single country has all the resources, technology, or funding to make it happen alone. And while some nations like the United States, Russia, and China have space programs capable of sending probes and rovers to Mars, putting humans on the red planet requires far more collaboration. Different countries bring different strengths to the table. NASA has been at the forefront of robotic Mars exploration, while Russia has decades of experience in long-duration space missions. The European Space Agency, ESA, contributes sophisticated scientific instruments, while Japan's Space Agency, JAXA, offers expertise in robotics and planetary exploration. China's rapidly advancing space program has already successfully landed a rover on Mars, and India's Space Agency, ISRO, has made significant strides with its Mars orbiter mission. Together, these nations and others can pool their knowledge and capabilities to tackle the immense task of reaching and sustaining life on Mars. The role of private companies. While governments have traditionally led space exploration efforts, private companies are increasingly playing a pivotal role in the journey to Mars. Companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Boeing are developing the rockets and spacecraft that could one day carry humans to the red planet. SpaceX, in particular, has captured global attention with its ambitious plans to colonize Mars. Elon Musk's vision of a multi-planetary future, driven by the development of the Starship spacecraft, has sparked a new wave of interest in space travel. Private companies bring several key advantages to the Mars mission. They often operate with more flexibility and speed than government agencies, and they have the ability to attract private investment, reducing the financial burden on taxpayers. SpaceX's reusable rocket technology, for example, has dramatically lowered the cost of launching spacecraft, making Mars missions more financially feasible. Meanwhile, companies like Blue Origin are focusing on creating sustainable lunar infrastructure that could serve as a stepping stone for deeper space exploration. The relationship between public agencies and private companies is evolving into a powerful partnership. NASA, for instance, has partnered with SpaceX to transport astronauts to the ISS, and these kinds of partnerships are expected to continue as the Mars mission develops. Governments can provide regulatory support, scientific expertise, and funding, while private companies can innovate, build, and deploy new technologies quickly and efficiently. This collaboration between public and private sectors marks a significant shift in the space industry. As we move toward Mars, it's clear that the future of space exploration will involve a blend of governmental oversight and private sector creativity. Challenges of global collaboration. While international cooperation is essential, it is not without its challenges. Space exploration has always been a field marked by national pride, geopolitical competition, and strategic interests. The Cold War space race between the United States and the Soviet Union, for example, was driven as much by political rivalry as by scientific curiosity. Even today, nations see space as an extension of their strategic influence, with countries like China and India investing heavily in their space programs to assert their technological leadership. When it comes to a mission as complex and costly as sending humans to Mars, these competitive instincts must be balanced with the need for collaboration. The question of who will lead the mission, who will provide the funding, and how the benefits of Mars exploration will be shared are all critical issues. Nations may have different priorities and timelines, which could complicate the coordination of resources and efforts. For example, while NASA aims to send humans to Mars in the 2030s, other countries may have different goals or may not yet have the technology to participate fully. Balancing these timelines and expectations will require strong international agreements and a shared commitment to the mission's success. The sharing of technological advances and scientific discoveries is another potential point of contention. The technology needed to reach Mars, such as propulsion systems, life support, and habitat construction, represents valuable intellectual property. Some countries may be reluctant to share these innovations, while others might see space exploration as a national security issue, particularly when military technologies overlap with space technologies. Despite these challenges, the history of space exploration shows that cooperation is possible, even in difficult political climates. The ISS, for instance, was developed and maintained through collaboration between countries that have not always had the easiest diplomatic relationships, such as the United States and Russia. If the Mars mission is to succeed, it will require similar agreements, built on trust, transparency, and a shared vision of exploration. The spirit of global unity. Despite the complexities of international collaboration, the mission to Mars represents a unique opportunity to unite humanity around a common goal. The Red Planet doesn't belong to any one nation, it's a frontier for all of humanity. As we set our sights on Mars, we are reminded that space exploration is, at its core, a human endeavor, one that transcends borders, ideologies, and cultures. There is something deeply powerful about the idea of people from different countries working together to push the boundaries of what's possible. The mission to Mars can serve as a reminder that we are all part of the same species, living on the same fragile planet. The challenges of space, whether it's finding new resources, understanding the universe, or protecting Earth from cosmic threats, are challenges we all share. The global cooperation required for Mars could also set the tone for future space exploration, teaching us how to work together in ways that benefit all of humanity. As we move toward an era where humans live and work on other planets, these collaborations will become even more important, not just for scientific progress but for maintaining peace and cooperation in an increasingly interconnected world. A shared journey to the Red Planet. In the end, the journey to Mars will not be about one country planting its flag on the Red Planet, it will be about all of us taking the next giant leap together. The mission will require contributions from every corner of the globe, from engineers and scientists to policymakers and visionaries. Each step will bring us closer to understanding not just Mars but our place in the universe. As we look forward to the day when humans set foot on Mars, it's clear that this mission will represent the best of what humanity can achieve when we work together. It will show that when we come together to face the unknown, we are capable of extraordinary things. And perhaps as we set our sights on the stars, we will learn to appreciate the fragile, beautiful planet we all share. Chapter 10. The Ethical Dilemmas of Mars Exploration. As humanity prepares to embark on one of its greatest adventures, sending people to Mars, we must confront not only the technical and logistical challenges but also the profound ethical questions that come with exploring and potentially colonizing another world. Mars, a planet untouched by human hands, presents both an opportunity and a responsibility. Our actions there will not only shape the future of space exploration but also reflect how we value life, environments, and our role in the universe. The mission to Mars offers the chance to expand human knowledge and create a new chapter in our history, but it also comes with moral complexities that we cannot ignore. How we approach the exploration of Mars will set a precedent for the exploration of other planets and moons in the future. This chapter explores the key ethical dilemmas that we must address as we step onto the Red Planet for the first time. The question of life, protecting potential Martian ecosystems. One of the most significant ethical questions surrounding Mars exploration is the possibility of life on the planet. While no definitive evidence has been found, Mars has conditions that suggest it could have once supported life, and might still, in the form of microbes hidden beneath its surface. If life does exist, even in the simplest form, we must consider our responsibility to protect it. The discovery of life on Mars would be one of the most profound scientific achievements in history, reshaping our understanding of biology, evolution, and the uniqueness of Earth. However, it also raises difficult ethical questions. Should we alter or potentially harm an ecosystem, no matter how primitive, just to satisfy our own curiosity or needs? If Martian life exists, it may be fragile and vulnerable to contamination from Earth organisms, which could disrupt its natural development or even drive it to extinction. Planetary protection protocols, developed by agencies like NASA, aim to prevent the contamination of other planets with Earth-based life. These protocols are designed to ensure that any spacecraft or human missions are sterilized to the highest standards. But as we plan to send humans to Mars, the risk of contamination increases. Unlike robotic missions, human presence introduces a much greater chance of accidentally introducing Earth microbes to the Martian environment. On the other hand, if no life is found on Mars, should we still protect its environment? Some argue that a lifeless Mars is fair game for human colonization, while others believe that even a barren planet deserves careful stewardship. Mars, in its natural state, is a geological time capsule, holding clues to the history of our solar system. Altering it could erase valuable scientific information, preventing future generations from studying Mars as it is today. Terraforming and the right to alter a planet. The idea of terraforming Mars, modifying its environment to make it more Earth-like, is a bold vision that has captivated scientists and space enthusiasts alike. But it raises deep ethical concerns. Do humans have the right to change an entire planet to suit our needs, even if it is currently uninhabited? What are the long-term consequences of such actions, both for Mars and for our own understanding of our place in the cosmos? Terraforming would require large-scale interventions, such as releasing greenhouse gases to warm the planet, melting polar ice to create liquid water, and introducing oxygen-producing organisms. These changes could potentially make Mars habitable for humans, but they would also permanently alter the planet's natural state. Supporters of terraforming argue that transforming Mars could be humanity's next great achievement, offering a solution to overpopulation or environmental challenges on Earth. They see it as a step toward becoming a multi-planetary species, ensuring our survival in the event of a catastrophe on Earth. Mars, they argue, is a barren world and giving it life would be a positive act. However, critics point out that the ethical implications of such an undertaking are enormous. Altering a planet's climate and surface could have unpredictable consequences, and there is no guarantee that we could control the outcome. Furthermore, by reshaping Mars, we might lose the opportunity to study it in its natural form, depriving future scientists of valuable knowledge about its history and evolution. Terraforming also forces us to confront our relationship with nature. On Earth, humanity has already transformed much of the planet, often with devastating environmental consequences. Should we carry these same patterns of exploitation and transformation into space, or should we take a more restrained, respectful approach? These are questions that go beyond science and technology, touching on philosophy, ethics, and the very definition of progress. Who owns Mars? The politics of space. Another fundamental ethical dilemma is the question of ownership. As humans venture beyond Earth, we must decide who has the right to claim, govern, and benefit from the resources of other planets. Mars, like the Moon, is governed by international agreements such as the Outer Space Treaty, which was signed in 1967. The treaty states that outer space, including Mars, is the province of all mankind and cannot be claimed by any single nation. However, as we move closer to actual human settlement on Mars, the legal framework surrounding space exploration becomes more complex. Who will control the colonies on Mars? Will they be governed by Earth-based nations or international organizations? How will we ensure that Mars resources are shared fairly, rather than exploited by a few wealthy nations or corporations? Conclusion: the new era of space exploration. The mission to Mars represents more than just a bold scientific endeavor. It's the next step in humanity's ongoing quest to explore, to learn, and to push beyond the boundaries of what we thought possible. As we stand at the edge of this new frontier, Mars invites us to imagine a future where humans live on multiple worlds, where our reach extends beyond the confines of Earth, and where space becomes a natural part of human existence. Mars is the most immediate and attainable goal, but it's also a gateway to the future. The knowledge and experience we gain from setting foot on the Red Planet will set the stage for even greater journeys. We are preparing not just to visit another planet, but to make a home there, to build a life on Mars that goes beyond the brief footprints left by astronauts and extends to the possibility of a permanent human presence. The significance of Mars for humanity. Exploring Mars is not just about curiosity or scientific discovery, though those are important elements. It's about survival, growth, and the expansion of human potential. Earth has been our home for millennia, but as our planet faces increasing environmental challenges, overpopulation, and limited resources, Mars offers us an opportunity to think about the future of humanity in a new way. The mission to Mars is a symbol of our capacity to adapt, innovate, and thrive in even the most hostile environments. It reflects our deep desire to learn more about our place in the universe and to find out if life exists, or has ever existed, beyond our planet. The search for signs of life on Mars touches on some of the most profound questions about who we are and where we come from. Are we alone in the cosmos, or is life a fundamental part of the universe? But Mars also represents something deeper: hope. It's a chance to start fresh, to build a new world where we can apply the lessons we've learned from Earth. The challenges we face today, environmental destruction, social inequality, political divisions, remind us that Earth is fragile. Mars gives us a chance to think about how we might build a better society, one based on cooperation, sustainability, and shared responsibility. The lessons we learn from living on Mars could very well help us solve some of the problems we face here on Earth. A collective human endeavor. The journey to Mars is not one that any single person, company, or nation can take alone. It requires the efforts of scientists, engineers, astronauts, policymakers, and dreamers from around the world. It is a collective human endeavor, a project that belongs to all of us, regardless of nationality, culture, or background. Mars can be a unifying force, bringing together nations and communities in pursuit of a shared goal. The international cooperation required to make this mission a reality is an inspiring reminder of what we can achieve when we work together. This kind of collaboration extends beyond technical expertise. It touches on the very essence of what it means to be human, to explore, to challenge the unknown, and to do it with others. Looking ahead, the success of the Mars mission could set the tone for future space exploration. The partnerships we form today between governments, private companies, and international organizations will lay the groundwork for how we approach space as a shared resource in the future. Mars is a chance for us to prove that space doesn't have to be a battleground of competing interests, but a domain where we can work together for the betterment of all. A new chapter in human history. In the grand sweep of human history, the decision to send humans to Mars will be remembered as a defining moment. It will mark the point at which we became a truly spacefaring species, no longer confined to one planet but capable of reaching out to others. Mars will be a chapter in the larger story of human exploration, one that began when early humans first walked across continents, crossed oceans, and looked to the stars. We are driven by the same instinct that pushed those early explorers: a desire to understand the world, to see what lies beyond, and to find new opportunities. But now we are no longer limited to our own planet. Mars is the next step, but it won't be the last. The technological innovations and lessons we gain from Mars will open doors to deeper exploration, perhaps to the moons of Jupiter or Saturn, or even to planets beyond our solar system. The future is vast, and Mars is just the beginning. Mars, a vision of what's possible. As we stand on the brink of the Mars mission, we are reminded of how far we've come. From our first steps on the Moon to the development of international space stations, to the rovers that now traverse Mars' dusty surface. Each step has brought us closer to this moment, where humans will cross the greatest frontier we have ever known. Mars is not just a destination. It's a symbol of what's possible when we dare to dream big and work hard to make those dreams a reality. It represents our capacity for innovation, resilience, and wonder. And as we prepare to take that next giant leap, we carry with us not just the tools and technologies that will make it possible, but the hopes and aspirations of all humanity. Mars will change us, not just as individuals but as a species. It will expand our understanding of the universe and our place in it, and it will remind us that no matter how vast the challenges, we are capable of meeting them together. This is the dawn of a new era of space exploration, one that will take us farther than we have ever imagined. And it starts with Mars.